Are you tired of being overcharged and forced into paying a monthly subscription for your Mac and Windows software? Well, if you are, currently we're having a 50% off discount on all the latest Mac and Windows software, such as AutoCAD, SolidWorks, Photoshop, Microsoft Office, and much more. Our 50% off discount will be ending soon, so be sure to text us "Need Software" to 323-405-1341. That's 323-405-1341. We aim to please, so expect 24/7 technical support, the latest premium software, instant software links delivered to your email, and PayPal buyer's protection guarantee.
www.hoodg.com. Here we got the Godcast crew necks, hoodies, hats. If you don't know where to go to get them, www.hoodg.com. Go get you that Godcast gear, that brand Nubian gear. We got Rod Digger gear, all of that. Go to www.hoodg.com. www.hoodg.com. Peace.
Peace.
What the Guande people? Okay, I see y'all. Rican one in the house.
I'm podding, baby. I
Getting all kind of calls during pod time. Tell them it's pod time.
I'm doing the podcast. I gotta call you back.
Yeah, it's God time, actually. It's not pod time, it's God time. Let's go.
That's right. And I'm blowing up like right this second.
Mm-hmm. What's good, my people? We got another great one for you tonight. You gotta get into it.
That's my child asking for a cash app.
You know that's what children do.
These damn cheering, boy.
That's what they do.
They grown till they not grown.
Could you send me a cash app?
Mm-hmm.
You know how it works.
Y'all send my baby a
cash app. Oh, they said
app.
Iowa in the building.
Put my cash app handle
okay.
so I can send it to her.
Queen D said, "Peace, Lord Jamar, Maseo. Digger.
Oh, I'm on camera chewing gum. My mama would kill me."
A1 Drizzy said, "Peace and black power, God." All right. Peace. And
I got the her out today.
Goes a little something like this. So you got the hair out today?
Got the natural tresses going on today.
Well, welcome back to Not a Mean Godcast. I'm Lord Jamar.
I'm Digger.
Wait, who are you?
Digger, y'all.
Digger. First name Rashia.
Look at. Let me find out.
How you like that?
I got the sound effects in this motherfucker. I finally did it. Huh? I threatened it.
Got
I had a little time to kill. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I see you. With that hood G joint. Well, fuck it. We might as well give you the Digger cam real quick. Hang on.
Hey.
We got to do what we do. You know. Hang on. Let me get that A1 Drizzy off of there. There we go. Give you the full Rod Digger. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Digger. First name Rashia.
Yeah, we can add that to the mix now. All right, what's good? Oh shit, we got some super chats already. Thank you.
All right.
Ty and Maisie TV said salute Lord Jamar and Rod Digger. And Icy Saracen, of course, my man is back at damn. That shit just went away. But Icy Saracen, I guess he was the first one. Thank you for your super chat. We appreciate you. So look lovely as always, Digger.
They said don't sit in front of Illmatic. He was on my back yesterday. I tried to slide him over today.
Who? Nas?
Somebody said don't sit in front of Illmatic. Actually, look.
Yeah, the mic is the mic. Yeah, it's like you're giving him the mic.
Nas got the mic to his mouth today.
All right, well, listen. I want to get straight to it because my brother is here. He actually has his wife with him as well. Hip-hop legend, man. You know, I guess one of the first people I had the privilege of meeting once we signed and started going to studios and feeling like, you know, we had famous rappers as friends and shit like that, you know. This was a guy, man, that just was always thorough, just always just about that hip hop shit. We've been on many tours and shows, and oh man, I just seen it. They seen it from the beginning with us. I seen it from the beginning with them until now, and it's you know, we all still here, and just it's a blessing.
And I had the pleasure of starring in one of their videos.
Well, there you go. We'll talk about that. But he has a serious subject he needs to talk about, and we're going to get into it. So listen, with no further ado, I would like to welcome my brother, Maseo of De La Soul, and his wife, Tina.
Peace, King.
Salute.
Peace. Peace, Digger. Peace, God. Peace, Queen.
Peace.
We good.
How you doing?
Y'all literally like killing my background. I thought I was doing something.
And those are real records to top it all off.
Right.
Yeah. But you know.
What you trying to say about my shower curtain, man?
Hey, it's hip hop though. It's still hip. It's all hip hop.
That's right.
This dog snoring in the background, that's hip hop, man.
You good, Digger. It would be completely wrong if it was me doing that. So you good. Don't worry about it.
Listen, Queen, we ain't looking at the background. We're looking at you. You're beautiful. So
thank you. Same to you guys.
So yes, so it's good to have you, my brother. You know, I've probably been meaning to have you for a while, just on some hip hop shit. But recently, you know, I just happened to be scrolling through IG and I saw a post that was dealing with your son. You know, now I was aware that one of your sons, I had heard some years ago that, he's getting ready to go to the NFL to like Mace got him one and was like, oh, that's beautiful. Like, that's great. Like, I know a lot of guys that thought maybe their children were going to go to the league or whatever, but it never really happened to case, you know. But I'm like, all right, here's somebody I know that has a son that goes to the league. Great. But I didn't really hear too much about the story subsequently about him getting into the league and all of that. Now, fast forward, I'm hearing, yes, he was in the league, but now he may be suffering from CTE. Yes. From those of you that don't know what CTE is basically, you know, traumatic brain injuries that result from repeated blows to the head, you know, repeated trauma to the head, which occurs in a violent sport like football. So yeah, I immediately hit you up about it and was like, if you want to talk about it, let's definitely bring awareness to this.
Absolutely.
And you know, I understand there's some injustice going on, and we definitely face injustice here on the Godcast. So please, let's get into it.
Well, for me, the straw that broke the camel back was when Antonio Brown had his outburst just recently. And how the fans and the league will downplay, you know, when these players are actually saying, I don't feel healthy enough to play, you know. and everybody will look on the surface as if they're, okay because they're not limping or anything like that, And I think the term healthy is, a code word for traumatic injuries to the head. Some of these players know they're not feeling well in their head to play, but it seemed like it's a forbidden thing to say or subject to touch amongst our fraternity. They got the players so like for years. I've witnessed players not even wanting to subscribe to their issue because it'll affect their playing time, it affects their money, it affects so much stuff, politically that a lot of people don't know. Let me first by saying when it comes to the professional side, whatever these guys sign for, these guys don't get paid on a full contract unless they actually play their full years. So that's a whole nother thing.
And what
But
percentage of the contract would you say they get out of whatever they sign for?
initially when they sign, I think they just get the bonus.
Well, they get the bonus, and then they get
My wife actually knows a little more detail because she actually managed my son throughout the process. Yeah.
Well, they basically get
Bring it
their
back,
bonus. They get their bonus, and then they'll get something that is considered a minimum wage for a player. So
Right.
regardless of whether they sign for millions, however that is, they'll get a flat fee for that first rookie year, and then they have to play out the contract. And a lot of people don't know that, whether they're signed for 3 million or 10 million or 20
Right,
million.
but that flat fee could be like 400,000 or something.
It's about like
that,
450,000.
Right.
And then on top of their, signing bonus, and that's on a sliding scale, all depending on where they fall in the draft and the organization. There's 32 within the organization of the NFL. So a lot of people don't realize that the organizations, they're separate and they have their own politics. And it's under the umbrella of the NFL, and so they're allowed to, kind of do a lot of things that people don't realize. So we got frustrated, just in seeing Antonio Brown, and Odell and Brandon Marshall and players like that who have been speaking out for quite some time, and we got frustrated because we were suffering in silence.
And only reason why we know of these players because these issues took place on the field. Had it not took place on the field, it'd be swept under the rug. That's something we know for a fact. And when we had looked for the coaches to come, well, Jeff Fisher in particular, to come and see about Trey in the off season, he wouldn't come. The GM, they wouldn't come. They kept too busy trying to get us to send him. And he was viably sick. They really need to come witness what we were dealing with.
Well, I mean, granted, most families don't even have the inside connect to the coach or to the GM, I guess, because I was so involved in Trey's career and close to him. We're a pretty close-knit family. So Trey would express to me what he was feeling. He comes home on the off season and he hits the street with all his friends, and that wasn't happening. So it's also a gradual thing as well. It's a gradual thing that even the families don't even realize what's happening. They're young. Trey was 19, 20 in the league. So, they're young and they're becoming young men. So at the end of the day, we at first perceived that maybe he was just settling down, that he was more so to himself. So,
now, I asked you this, Mace, when I talked to you on the phone. Like, what were some of the first signs that you may have seen that something was off?
I could say one of the things was his spending habits. A lot of luxuries, a lot of fashion, a whole lot of things that I know that made him feel good. And that's synonymous with the symptoms. Like the symptoms to concussions is similar to bipolar or schizophrenia, and then the things that help these players get through it is doing things that make them feel good and going shopping for luxury things, or even if it's just toys, that fulfills something for them. You know, so that was one of the things, and then the other thing were when we would have conversations, and the conversation would be totally out of context. We'll be talking about one thing, and he'll introduce something else, and it's not like it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't fall in context with the subject we're talking about.
Didn't you tell me about he bought like 4 cars?
Yeah, about three cars. Yeah, one was for his mom. Yeah, and
not
then
in a day though. Not
wasn't
in a day though. There was some issues based on Trey first. Well, first when he got in the league, and this just kind of piggybacks off what he was saying as far as the spending was concerned. Like, you know, Trey is pretty frugal. You know, he's pretty frugal. He got in the league and he, you know, purchased a car that he liked, but it was pretty frugal. You know,
Right.
He kind of purchased what he was necessary. He wasn't that flashy dude. You know what I mean? So that started to change. You know, things like that started to change. We have several issues about the cars that was purchased. When this first started, though, I don't know if you guys know, but in looking, or you can even Google it up, you know, we had some issues with Trey being pulled over by the Miami police. And at this time, he was in his off season in 2015. So, you know, I was concerned, told his father, you know, like, listen, I'm concerned about Trey. He's displaying some odd behavior. So I really didn't want to leave him alone. But these guys are young men. So it's not like your parents can tell you what to do. I mean, we barely can tell them what to do when they're growing up, but you know, as being adults, you know, he was just displaying some odd behavior. And when this incident happened, he's always obeyed what was necessary for him to, and he didn't. And that's what drew us to the car situation, because they impounded the car, and we come to find out that there was some paperwork that wasn't even handled with the car, that Trey is usually on top of everything he does. So that's another issue that starts to be raised with these players. Like, they, for some strange reason, they start becoming infantile, not handling.
Irresponsible. At one point, my son being very responsible to then becoming very irresponsible, with stuff like completing the purchase and the paperwork being valid for him to have the car. He gave the money, but he never really got the proper paperwork to complete the overall purchase, which is the title and everything that was necessary. So when the car got impounded, we went to get it back. We could have gotten it back, but he had an episode at the impound place. And due to the episode, we couldn't get the car. Mom and I couldn't sign for it. He needed him to sign for it, so we couldn't get it. And they had a certain amount of days.
He was refusing to sign for it.
He was refusing. Right. He was completely refusing for whatever his reasons were.
Right.
And he was having this crazy sweat, like he was just sweating profusely. Then next thing you know, the impound place, they had to let go the car. So looking on the paperwork, they gave it to the next person on the paperwork that they noticed, which was the previous owner. The previous owner was the dealership. They got the car. They never even contacted us, knowing that they sold Trey that car, knowing exactly who he was, sold him that car, and then turned around and they sold the car again to someone else.
So may I ask you guys, at what point was this the tipping point that made you guys say, okay, this is a serious issue, we need to discuss this with someone? Did you guys take it upon yourself to bring it to anyone in the higher ups, bring it to their attention, or did they bring anything to your attention?
For a while, well, Mom, she had a moment and she said some things to Coach Fisher and Les Snead, the organization, some of the players, and then it kind of just went nowhere. And then
like, oh, he just got some money. That's what they all do. They go out and spend it and kind of brushed it off.
I think the hardest thing was getting him to subscribe. It's hard to this day, but at this point, it's so acute that he displayed enough behavior where the outside world can see now. People can actually see. For a long time, he has been able to mask it. So if he's not subscribing it and we're saying one thing and he's like, nah, my family's bugging, it's hard to go against that,
And you know your child better than anyone else. You know
Right.
you probably saw it day one.
Right.
Has there been any displays of violence? I know they say sometimes that these create violent episodes in people that
Yes.
Yeah, it has.
That's mainly one of the first signs as well.
Mm.
Is the aggressive behavior, because the sport itself is aggressive. I just want to touch on, because I just want to touch on the day and the life of a football player, that people don't realize. They get up at 5 a.m.
Yes, take us through it. Take us through like the beginning stages, the once he entered the professional realm, like just lay it all out for us.
Well, first and foremost, these players have been playing since they've been little,
right. And that's what me and
playing,
Mace were talking about.
Yeah, they're playing since Little League.
Like 8 years old.
Right.
And you're taught at that age to hit in the head. Like I come from a culture where if you didn't get paint on your helmet from another team, you was a sucker.
Right.
You had to, and this was encouraged by the coaches. And we was little kids. I'm in 5th grade and they telling me to do this.
Right.
You're right.
They want you to hurt people.
Right.
It's encouraged.
And now imagine doing that from 8 years old up until 20-something years old, and then intensifying it at a professional level. Like, I'm thinking some Pop Warner kids could have CTE that we don't even realize.
Right. And that's what's actually happening in these recent days, where they're finding that young men as young as 26 years old have suffered from this same disease. It is very difficult to live with, but let me just bring it back to what we were talking about with playing since Little League. I watch people in their comments and expressing how, that's what they do anyway. They spend their money and then they end up broke. That's all that anybody ever says. But at the end of the day, they're not realizing the life of a football player when it starts. There's levels to it. Then there's coaches, like they fight through this just to get to the league. It's exciting. In fact, that's one of the most, the biggest goals that a football player from high school and college is looking to do. And when Trey came to me in 11th grade and was like, Mom, I think I see this. I see where I'm going. I see where this is headed. I was like, well, let's go then, and you say, what are the parents thinking? All I'm thinking is to support my son. All I'm thinking is, look, he's played this long and he's achieved this level of the sport. Let's continue. They go to the league and they're young and they're jovial and they're ready to win, not realizing this is a corrupt organization. They don't understand that a team is not interested in winning, that a team has their eye on a player from from college, and they want to draft them, and everybody knows how the draft goes. The draft it literally goes like this. If you're the lowest winning team, you get the first pick. It kind of works out that way, so, just dragging through Trey playing. You have coaches yelling, you have training, you get up at 5 a.m, you go to training, you go to class. This is in college. You go to class, then you go back and you go to practice, and you're told what to do. And they sign on to these things, but because of course they're looking to go to the league. They finally get there and they realize, wow, I'm a man now. You can't talk to me like that. You can't, I got lives. These men have lives. They have wives. They have children. And they fight for their position every day. Every day.
Someone's always looking to come take their spot.
Yeah. If you're hearing them on Sunday, clearly they've been training. They take tests. They find out on Saturday whether they're on the field or they're not.
And then when the player's doing extremely well, and then he finds out he's not playing, that could be a mind fuck right there too. You know, why am I not playing? I did well. I've been doing well. We've been winning. I've been meeting my stats.
Yeah.
Why are you not putting me in now?
And it's not just about playing time, it's about all of that anxiety, all that aggression, Come on, men is very difficult. You talk about bruising and the ego, they almost have none because it's just being bruised over and over and over. And then you're in front of millions of people that are like, hey, why haven't you played? What's going on? My fantasy football points are going down. They become like this commodity instead of humans.
Now add the concussion part, the unnatural contact. And here it is, we talking about my son, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham. We talking about elite players, but what about the linemen? The linemen that don't get no shine, and they hit helmet to helmet just to protect the quarterback or the running back.
Right, almost every play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we forgetting about even the young men that don't even have that shine, that's making them hits head to head every play.
And a lot of those guys are the $400,000 guys that we're talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Minimum wage.
Minimum wage. Mm-hmm.
Now, to my understanding, I'm sorry, you was about to say something?
No. Go ahead.
To my understanding, now they say CTE is something that generally can't be diagnosed until a player passes away.
Right.
Do you think that's a ruse? Because I just feel like if this is happening, if this is happening to the players physically, like it isn't a mental thing. It is a mental thing, but it's also physical. Like, don't you think they should be able to see at least the onset of it with MRIs and CAT scans the same way they're looking at these concussions?
Well, I mean, there's definitely enough money amongst that organization to invest in research
for sure,
as much as they invest in research for everything else. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic and they trying to spend millions and billions of dollars on research for a vaccine. Why can't this be done for sport that's over, 100 years old, maybe?
You have people going to space on the weekends.
This is America's sport.
Right.
This is so-called America's sport.
Exactly.
They do research just to see how to make a motherfucker jump 5 more inches.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? That's the type of research they'd rather put money into a shoe that flexes in a way that gives you just a little more spring to fucking, run that touchdown or whatever the case may be. But this shit like this, they won't have money for.
Well, it's frustrating to me because you'll know when a player tears a hamstring or needs a ACL reconstruction, but you'll never know a player has concussions and we're treating that. And you'll never know when it doesn't go well. I feel like early detection is the best, right? So if you can't tell whether they have CTE, you can tell the behavior though. It's the same behavior. They made a movie about it. It's the same exact behavior that they display over and over and over. And, in talking to Trey, a lot of times, and we talk daily, they got players in the locker room going, hey, just give me one more quarter. And these men are unhealthy. They're sick. They can barely, move. So they're, shooting them up with medication so they don't feel it until the end of the game. People who get hit and they fall, you don't realize as a fan that they're told to, if you can get up and get to the side of the sidelines, you need to do that because we need to run and play. So you never really realize how hurt the player really is. So it's just deeper. And we're just urging people to dig a little deeper before you have these assumptions.
Start passing judgment and, throwing out your ridicule, to these players because they're really going through some stuff. You know,
I wouldn't be surprised if they are detecting it, and it comes out years later that, oh, we could see it all along, but we have to protect our franchise.
well,
which is
granted,
what's happening.
I do. We have learned that there are some facilities out there, and they're still, diving into the research. But the facilities are really, really expensive, and by the time a player can get that kind of attention, he's out of money. He has no medical insurance. He's completely written off from the league because they definitely not deeming it to be something that happened on their watch.
Well, let me touch on that then, which is really important with medical insurance. With what happened with Trey, I can't speak of other players, but I'm pretty sure this is happening over and over and over again. Trey actually had gotten sick. I spoke to the coaches and I was like, look, man, he's not he's not the same guy. When he came home, he's not the same guy. And so they were like, well, first of all, they have to document the concussions. And when they don't document them, you know, even if they let the player go, how do you get compensation for that? Because you don't know if it happened on a job. So all this help that they're saying that they have for the players, you have to fall within a criteria. They don't fall within that criteria because there's no record of a concussion. There's no record of them checking on the player and making sure the player is okay after the game. If you don't display it at the game, then they just assume there's nothing wrong with you, but yet they can see the behavior changing. Our situation was that he came home in the off season. I only got contacted from them when it was time to go back to camp. So when it came time to go back to camp, I was like, hey, listen, Trey's not well. He's not okay. And you guys need to come and see him. Well, Jeff Fisher, his thing was, I need him back. I need him back in St. Louis. I'm like, I don't think you understand. You guys keep saying you don't know why he's not returning. And that's what you're telling the world. But I'm letting you know. The constraints that me and my husband had was that we can't give medical records. There's HIPAA laws that restrict you from giving someone else's medical records. So I'm like, look, come check on him. And they never did. So then that's when we realized that their best interest wasn't Trey. At that moment, the best interest is not in the player. They had their agenda. So if they can make it look like he got arrested and he's starting to get in some type of trouble, then they'll just go with that. I don't know, maybe it's drugs or maybe
it's
we
just
don't know what
shit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what
Right.
I mean?
Exactly. And it's different strokes.
Fucks is you going.
Right. And it's different strokes for different folks. The attention that I watch him not get versus the attention that I see other players get, and they can just arbitrarily just ruin their career and get chances after chances. If you look it up, Trey's really just got sick. And I asked them, like, hey, do you get sick days? I mean, do they get sick days? Are they allowed to be sick? Their thing was to threaten us to make sure he came back. Otherwise, he would get let go. They never, ever put in any time to take care of Trey at all. So we realized that, okay, well, I do see you have this reality show going on that you're about to, embark on. And that was that HBO Hard Knocks show.
Right.
In 2016.
So that was their turn, the Rams?
The Rams were invited to do the show.
Okay.
So, basically what happened was I was like, look, let me tell you something. If in fact you decide you want to mention Trey, since you don't want to mention where he is and that he's not well, don't mention him at all on the show, else you're going to have a problem. Because you guys are doing underhanded things that aren't even helping him. And we as parents, we can't do anything.
And now you're going to use that show to try to create narratives and shit like that. Oh, no.
Right.
No.
Right.
No.
Like, oh, he didn't come back, and so we have to let him go. So that's what they did. They actually did that. And in the midst of his troubles, they actually let him go and put him on Cobra and tried to force us to sign the paperwork. And when we refused, they
Now,
were
what
like,
is Cobra? Just for people that don't know.
Cobra is like a side insurance that actually is for 18 months, and the player is responsible for the bill and their own health insurance that come on. And it's very minimal. It's very minimal. And
It's
I'm like,
like
you're
an
gonna
18-month insurance for the unemployed.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know? So we were really perplexed, like, what are you doing? So you're not gonna come, you're not gonna tell people you know where he's at, and you're not gonna give us any help. And clearly they were like, well, if he doesn't come back, we're not going to pay him, and this is the route we need to go. And so we just bucked up and was like, hey, listen, if this is what you're going to do, there'll be a day we'll be able to tell our story, because right now our main focus is Trey and his health. So we just continued to let it go that way until this time. It's 7 years.
So is this something that's treatable? And yes, first off, is this something that's treatable?
We don't even know what this something is.
Right.
So, it, like I said, early detection is the best, and you can't get these players to subscribe because we didn't even want to say anything because we didn't want to mess up Trey's career. In the midst of this, they can come out of this thing, at which he did, and went to Canada and played and did very well in Canada.
But then he relapsed.
Right, because he tore his ACL. He got, he recovered, he got the reconstruction, but it threw him into trauma again. So it's very difficult for us to continue to keep fighting against him, and he's not subscribing. But yet we see the behavior, and he can't quite see the behavior,
So let's take a minute, because I pulled up the the legal term, the legal definition, or the going official breakdown of CTE: chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy is the term used to describe brain degeneration likely caused by repeated head traumas. CTE is a diagnosis made only at autopsy by studying sections of the brain. It is a rare disorder that is not yet well understood. It is not related to the immediate consequence. CTE is not related to the immediate consequences of a late life episode of head trauma. CTE has a complex relationship with head traumas, such as persistent post-concussive symptoms and second impact syndrome that occurs earlier in life. So basically, they're already saying that this is something that is a gradual development, and it happens early on. They're saying it's not something that just kind of pops up late in life. This is something that starts early. I'll continue. Experts are still trying to understand how repeated head traumas, including how many head injuries and the severity of those injuries and other factors, might contribute to the changes in the brain that result in CTE. It's a little more extensive. Some signs are thought to include difficulties with thinking, emotions, physical problems, and other behaviors. It's thought that these develop years to decades after the head trauma occurs. So basically, and something that I see come up often is that one of the major things that is affected is their impulse, like their ability to control their impulses. I mean, in layman's terms, I've heard that a lot about CTE. And then you hear these stories of like Aaron Hernandez and I forgot the brother's name, the Kansas City Chief player that he killed his wife. He went to the field and overkilled his wife, like shot her like 7 times in front of his mother, went to the field, called the coach, called the general manager, and then killed himself. And there's like, actually there's a lot of stories like this. And when I hear this, and then I saw the Antonio Brown news, like I'm even thinking, you know, and I'm not trying to excuse this, but you know, I even thought about OJ, like, wow, that impulse, you know, is this something that maybe they don't want to, maybe they really don't want to recognize it because then they feel like it will become a crutch for some of these players who may not necessarily be suffering from it, but can like use it as an excuse.
I think they don't want to admit to it because it's
For one, they got
bad
to
for the
pay.
league. It looks bad on the league. It just it's a stain on the league. First of all, let's say they did acquire this early on, right? Some of them may be displaying signs before they even get in the league. But guess what? They're fucking great at their position, and so we want to get them in there to fucking make this money and win the fucking. So maybe somebody turned a blind eye to certain you know, symptoms that they were seeing, even though they knew down the road homeboy's gonna be fucked up. But right now he's good. Let's take him. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of complicit shit that's going on different levels, from Pop Warner all the way right on up to the goddamn NFL. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I think it is. It's just that whole football culture, you know. And if you get to that level,
it's a lot of money involved.
There's a lot of money involved, especially when you get to the college and pro level. And that's when they really, if you do have problems, that's where I feel like the problems get exacerbated even more, because you're working at such a high level, like, and the pressure, and like she said, the anxiety, everything is so high. The hits are harder. You're dealing with the strongest people, you know, that they found in the world, you know what I mean? Like, have all converged to try to hit you in the head with a goddamn helmet and some, you know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of shit, man.
And then let's get into the intricacies of coaches running plays that don't work.
Speak on it. You were talking about that.
You know,
and knowing they don't work.
Yeah, knowing that they don't work, and creating these situations because there's something else going on, either with fantasy football or whatever, you know, where everyone gets to play. The officials, the coaches, everybody gets to play fantasy football. So you get to, you think about it, who gets to dictate how the game goes so the gambling sport works, you know? You know, and these are all the things you got to sit down and think about. Can I actually prove it? No, I can't. But to something, there's a connection there. There's a strong connection there when one player is doing very well one year, and when it comes to the next year, people are picking their fantasy football team based on who did well last year. So when they actually looking to see the season go this year, the players that they actually pick are not even getting the run time. They're not even getting the playing time to even support the whole fantasy game. So the game goes haywire for those who are playing the fantasy football because they banking on the players that did well last year. That's not getting any play this year. So you got to ask yourself. And then there's another thing. Why is football the only sport that the coach is wearing a headset? Who's coaching the coach? I don't see that in any other sport.
Right. And I was saying it could be anybody. You know, these rich little fuckers, like, they could have a fucking 10-year-old son running plays secretly for all we know. Here, you want to run some plays today? Yeah, I mean, Daddy. You know what I mean? Like,
my son actually got a text saying, "Hey, it's not about winning games. This is the entertainment business."
This is from Les Snead.
And that's from Les Snead, the GM.
You know, and this was when Gurley got drafted. Like, we knew, like, because we were so close in connection with Trey's movements in his career, I knew something was happening then. You know, they promised them what they're going to do for the season, right? And then they'll get out there and we don't know the plays. They know the plays. And Trey called me one day and he was like, Mom, I don't know. I can't do this anymore. They open up the field when it comes to Gurley. They put me on a blitz when it comes time for me and I got to make something happen. And we all know this play isn't going to work. Things like that, things the fans don't really see. You think you know the game, but open up a football playbook and see how many plays they run and see how many options they actually have.
And if Trey was to say that, then they'll make it seem like he got an issue with Gurley.
Right. And we never did. We have a wonderful relationship with Gurley, and so did they. So that wasn't the issue as well.
Even Gurley on the flip side was like, yo, they burning me out. They trying to burn me out. Why they playing me so hard?
He himself wasn't well at times in games, but you got a job to do. So that's the job.
So here's the deal. 3 years you get to be tenure in the NFL. They'll burn them out in 2.
So they don't have to pay.
Right.
Boom.
So you don't get that help. Remember the criteria that I said that you have to fall within to get that kind of help. Right? So they push you aside. And they'll do it by any means necessary and make the fans think and make, that, oh, well, he just wasn't making the cut. He just couldn't hack it, or they'll trade you. Don't have to pay you. That's the other.
Now my son even walked in and asked to be traded, and they
told him no. So
you said they might not trade people sometimes just so they don't have to play against them. They do dirty shit like that, huh?
Yep. They do stuff.
They'll
like
hold
that.
on to them.
Yep.
Like, you know what? Nah, fuck it. I'd rather not play against them.
We'll hold you and bench you.
We're not gonna play you. Yeah, we'll hold you and bench you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you do get on another team, you might bust our ass.
Exactly.
In revenge.
Well, do you think that now, because we're seeing so much focus on mental health and just recently with Simone Biles and the Olympics, like, some people tried to give her hell, but a lot of people, did realize like, hey, when these players are experiencing mental trauma, we got to listen. She just straight walked off the floor. Like, look, my mind is not connecting with my body midair. I could land and break my neck. Like, I can't do this. So I think
how many times one of us have not felt well and we got to cancel the show.
Right.
You feel me?
You're right. And a lot of times, we won't,
That's what I'm saying. Not a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
We
been
won't.
times, bro.
We need that. You need that back end,
bro.
I remember being on there sick because of the repercussions.
I remember being fucked up with sciatica. And still fucking got out on that goddamn stage. Like you gotta do what you gotta do. Sometimes
I've had to do shows with laryngitis. Like, I've had to get the shot right before I took the stage to get my voice back. I've had to perform with like a flu where like I literally walk off the stage and just like earl my guts up. But the people, we're trained that the show must go on, like, no matter what. So
right.
Same concept. Yep.
It's a conditioning that we have. And I'm hoping now that we're seeing so many of these athletes say, listen, I'm not feeling mentally equipped for this, that maybe they'll start taking some grace when it comes to, especially these rougher contact sports. Hopefully.
Well, I'm hoping that they even feel brave enough to say they're not mentally fit, because it seemed like there's a taboo.
Right.
It's like they're afraid to say it because they might lose something.
And speaking on that, of being afraid, you can tell the pressures when ex-football players.
That was the lead in. Tell us about Michael Strahan.
Well, with all due respect,
I know you're not trying to shit on him or whatever.
Nah, not at all. And I want the audience to know that. But this is something that actually happened.
Yeah, let's keep it real.
We at Q-Tip's crib, we at Q-Tip's crib, kicking it, and he wanting to know what's up and wanting to help, and like, damn, family, like, what? I'm trying to think of what I could do to help. He was like, let me reach out to Michael Strahan. He had a conversation with Mike, had a light conversation with us, made exchange numbers, called him, but all of a sudden got no call back. Got no call back. And I don't know why. And it's like, I'm not going to keep calling, you know.
Right.
You know what we talking about here. You've been prepped, you know.
Right. And now you ghosting me. Now you stonewalling me. What's going on, bro?
And we got ghosts. So, you know, and not to. I just wonder, like, is it forbidden?
Yeah, we still don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I can see his progress, and I'm happy for the brother. You know what I mean? It just shows us, though, that the pressures that must be put on this, you know,
This
concussion
topic.
issue, the mental issues with the league stem outside of the current player, and the, you know what I mean? It stems outside of that. It stems even to those who actually have a voice, these ex-players, these Hall of Famers that will not say anything, because this is to me, it's a cult, because I'm like, this is
I
absolutely
hear
crazy.
you.
This is absolutely crazy. You mean to tell me after all these years of these ex-ball players playing, you still got a hold on their careers? You still, by what they say, what they admit to, half of them are dealing with it as well. And later on, you find out.
Now, remember what I told you about Tony Dorsett when I
Right.
saw him at the Heisman?
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Dorsett.
And first of all, Tony Dorsett used to be my fucking hero when I was a child. Like, I wanted to
all
be
of us.
Tony Dorsett so fucking bad. But
Straight
go
up.
ahead and tell us about Tony Dorsett, and also speak to the fact of how you said a lot of these people are able to talk football like scientists, but then when it comes to everything else, they're fucked up. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. Like, for some reason, like when we met Tony Dorsett, it was like you said, meeting one of our heroes. But I saw him looking off, man. Looked off. He had like this plastic bag in his hand. Like, it was kind of way he was looking was a bit inappropriate for the event we was at. And he had this like,
And this is the Heisman.
and this is the Heisman. He had like a Pathmark plastic bag with just shit in it. Whatever it fuck it was just shit in there. And I'm like, whoa.
Thank you for shopping with us.
You know,
Man.
and what made me really bring him up, because I saw somebody in the DM just yesterday saying, yo, you might want to reach out to Tony Dorsett. He might be able to help. I was like, wow. You know?
Right. You know that?
I was like, wow. I was like, how come the rest of the world don't know about this great American player, Tony Dorsett, and his issue? You know?
Right.
He's a legend. You know, we should be knowing these type of things.
Absolutely.
And you don't. It's like to the side, or somebody.
It got to take for
dropping
something
dime
like
or
this to happen, for us to speak out on this level, seeking for help, for them people to blurt out in DMs. Yo, you might want to reach out here. Sorry for the family. Sorry for this. But here's a little tip here. Here's a tip there. And I met this man, and I'm like, yo, he is off completely.
Wow.
Well, pupils dilated and all.
One thing's for certain and two things are for sure. There is definitely a difference that in media coverage that the black players get versus white players. I've even seen a lot of people lately talk about Stephen A. Smith, how he regards certain players versus others. Like he had all the smoke for Kyrie, but we didn't see that same energy with Aaron Rodgers. I thought, what's the brother that's always talking about he gonna sprinkle his mama's cooking and stuff, like
he Kwame Brown.
Yeah, he dug in his ass about this very thing. So there's definitely a fraternity, if you will, happening as far as like the type of coverage these things get, and they'll portray it as the niggas nigging, before actually addressing it as like, yo, this is a serious problem that we are in fact responsible for. So it's
Well, this is majority of the commentators who never played the sport ever. They're just commentators. And they really need to shut the fuck up. Honestly, they just need to shut up. Stephen A. at some point, you either need to shut up or really dig deeper and show empathy. And for somebody who's been in the business as long as he should know better. I think dudes be dancing for the money.
Oh yeah, they're taking their cues from the higher ups. Of course.
You know, you can only see it by how they moving, you know. And you know, where we come from, the vibe just tell you that. Can I really put my finger on it? No, but at some point you'd be like, dude, you need to shut up. Just shut up, man. Because you have no idea what these players and families are going through. Shut up, man.
And you out here cooning for the white man. For the white man's butter biscuits.
Like, yo, take some of your bread and get on the plane and go visit that player and his family before you open your mouth.
I want to address another thing. You know, a lot of families, the player themselves have made it to a certain level so that they can take care of their families. So some of these families aren't even intertwined in the business itself and just realizing that, hey, listen, my mortgage needs to be paid. My kid is doing that for me. We are a different type of family. We didn't have to live off of Trey's money. So, you know, we were like, hey, you can come for us because we're coming for you, you know, but we're just speaking out for those who don't have that
like
platform.
I was telling you, God, you know, it's working class families who don't know the entrepreneurial life or learning the entrepreneurial life through the child that went through the NFL.
Right.
You know, and at the end of the day, his situation still isn't entrepreneurial because he works for the NFL.
See, this is supposed to be a dream. Like this is supposed to be a dream come true for a lot of people. For certain families,
nightmares with it.
Oh my goodness, my son made it to the NFL. We straight now. Everything's gonna be happily ever after. That's
and they all say, "Welcome to the family." They all say that. We treat him like he's our own son.
Right.
Gotta be careful
until he's not.
Until he's not.
Right.
And don't get it twisted. We were elated that he achieved his goal. You know what I mean?
Who
elated.
Like, who saw this coming? So it's like, who wouldn't be?
Right. And so, yeah, it is another level. It's another level financially. It's another level just in terms of always telling your kids to reach for their goals and don't stop till you achieve them. You know, all these things that we tell our kids, they get there. And then I'll have to say, and you know, I'll deal with the smoke later. White America just takes it from them, just swipes it right from the black man. You know, like at the end of the day, this is not only a goal to go to the NFL, but a goal to take care of your family. A goal to think about every young man who is like, I just want to take care of my mom. You know, I want to get her a house and I want to get her a car and I want to do this and I want to do that.
And becoming a running back, a quarterback, or wide receiver is like being a platinum artist out the gate.
Right. And then also too, just achieving those things and turning around and realizing that this is just a bunch of smoke. We get out here and they don't give a damn about us.
So in your opinion, what do you feel that the NFL could be doing right now to help your son's situation and everybody that might be in these type of situations? What can they really be doing more of? Because we know they got the money to do it.
Well, one of the main things is don't swipe them from their medical benefits for them to be able to get the help that's required.
Okay.
Yeah. What was more important, that he returned to training camp or that he actually is healthy to be able to return to give you what he signed on for, so to speak, right? How if you can't mentally, you know, gather yourself enough to go back? How if you're in a facility that that you're getting the help from. You know, that was our issue. I can only speak of our issue, but I'm pretty sure this has happened several times to several players. You know, where it's like, hey, we got our agenda. We're on our way. If you don't show up, you just don't show up.
And then
I kept saying Trey cannot show up. He is incapable of showing up.
right.
And that I say articles after articles, Jeff Fisher and Les Snead were like, we just don't understand. We don't know why Trey is not returning. We have no idea. And so, you know, one conversation in particular with Jeff and I, he clearly was like, well, listen, Tina, I know that's your baby and all, but I have someone to answer to. So
Word.
I lost it. And I was like, look, Jeff, I don't work for you. At the end of the day, my most important thing is Trey. I obviously see that that's not your first agenda, and you're going to have to get a grip and reckon with the fact that you're going to deal with this later. Right now, I got to make sure my son is safe and healthy. You take his money, you just do. We don't live off of that.
Another thing I think they could do is invest money more into the research of finding out CTE well before these players die.
Right.
Right.
Because there was money in some form or fashion, there was some money allotted to continue this research. And then all of a sudden, we don't know where it went, where it happened. There was a situation in the courts where they awarded these players money.
I
And
think
that
I
was in
remember
2000.
something like that some years ago.
You had to apply for it. Well, first and foremost, if you don't have your right mind, I don't know how you're going to do that. Right. So at the end of the day, they had a lawsuit and a settlement, and they paid some of these players who were okay enough to be able to apply for this or even subscribe to this. But once you subscribe to it, you no longer can play. Right. So think about Trey. Think about Trey in a sense. He didn't get all the money that he had. He kind of was in and out. And at the end of not really subscribing to the fact that he even needed the help, but the help that he needs is going to stop him from making or stop him from his career. So that settlement is there's some red tape, was what I'll say. So
Okay.
there's some red tape. You know, they do have tests like dementia testing that just recently, I think as recent as December 30th of last year, they were doing some tests and it was for like dementia issues. And I haven't gotten too deep into it, but apparently the people who were running the test decided to do something almost like racial bias with the testing. So they were measuring your cognizant, cognitive function. Black men being lower than a white man's cognitive function. So, say you had an acute
You hear
dementia,
this? You hear this? Say it again.
Hearing this bullshit.
right? And this is you can look it up. They were versing black men versus white men and how their cognitive function could be at a certain level. Say you and I, right? We're at a certain level. So if we test low, it's because we're dumb anyway. Because, you know, they call it cognitive function, but
Right.
it's just clearly saying that you can't,
Think
you're not
as
smart
well.
enough.
Yeah.
Right. You're not smart enough. But a white man has a higher cognitive function. So they were using this test and you were getting, they were getting
This
funded.
racist ass test.
Basically, they used a racially biased version
Right.
of another version of the SAT.
That's like the skull
Right.
test. No, that's
Right.
like the old skull test. And he's like, look at the lobe of the black man. That shows
Right.
that he's
Versus
more
the white
dumber than the white man. Look at the European skull. Like
Right.
this is
So
the
white
shit
men-
that they passed as science back in the 20s and
This
shit.
is
like
eugenics.
that.
Right.
Exactly.
Now, this is December 30th, 2021. You can Google it. It's
Thank you,
insane.
Maestro Fest West.
2 football players have filed a lawsuit on this particular dementia test.
Wow.
So, you know, it does frustrate me to see that these men are out here just scraping and trying to save their lives, save their families. and we're watching these white men on yachts and boats and fucking up their lives arbitrarily and getting on team after team after team.
And what's crazy is the white men who run these teams and all that, like their children would never even dream about playing football or some shit like that. Like, oh
Right.
no, I would never risk my skull for some shit like that. Like
Right.
that barbaric sport. Like never. Like, and yet we bending over backwards to try to get our children in the league. Like, what would you say to a parent, right now who's like trying to groom their 12-year-old to get into the NFL someday, like knowing what you know now? What might you say to them?
First and foremost, I would like to just say to them that, stay close to your children, understand them, don't walk away from practice, see what's going on, making sure the coach is doing the right things, saying the right things, pay attention to their behavior. I'll have to say that at a young age, it's kind of difficult to determine.
Yeah, because they're
that-
crazy anyway.
Don't just assume they're getting spoiled for the money. Like, pay attention to their mental.
But when they teenagers, they all acting like they got some damn CTE, like they done bumped their head on
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right, but at least pay attention. Don't just leave them off to anybody you think got their well-being, because they don't. At the end of the day, it's about winning, or it's about, going to the next level. You even have college coaches who are trying to become NFL coaches. You got high school coaches trying to ride along with the player that's going to the colleges. Like, hey, listen, sign on to this college. Like, we know a lot, right? So even in the scouting from high school, you have coaches who are driving your kid to the college they went to for some bonus, for some kind of ride.
How you get them over here? I got a nice little
Right.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's nice to see that, with the kicking and screaming about college players not getting paid, that they're finally getting some just due, because they make these colleges lots and lots of money.
Lots of money.
And
win or lose, lots of money.
CTE could be at that level as well, So, what I would say to them is like, hey, listen, don't kill the kid's dream. It's just follow them along,
I'll definitely say on a professional level, parents should not relinquish 100% of the business. Getting involved definitely with an agent is important to the connections in the sport and learning, but don't give up that marketing, don't give up that management. You've been, to the mothers and fathers who've been there from the time they've been playing from 12 years old. At 12 years old, nothing really changes when they hit the professional side. It's just money added to it. It's just money added to everything they've been doing since they were kids.
Right.
Let me ask you guys a question. A little off topic. When Colin Kaepernick was taking the knee, how did you guys feel about that? How did your son feel about that? What was I'm curious to know what was the temperature of an actual football family witnessing this, and what were your thoughts at that time?
As a black family, 100% support it. I mean, because when these guys are off the field, they deal with getting pulled over by the police, being mistaken for whomever, or just being mistreated because they are successful, So they dealt with issues being pulled over. Myself being dealt with issues being pulled over and violated by police. So at the end of the day, we stand in solidarity with Kaepernick taking a knee,
I can say for myself, and as I watched Trey, because he was playing at the time, and a lot of his other colleagues, the pressure of not knowing whether or not, even if he felt inside, not saying anything. Like, sometimes we just feel like if we don't say anything, then, it'll bypass me, and, I can still keep my position. So while I watched Trey, he pivoted around the question of how he felt. Like as for me and his father, though, we stood in solidarity, but Trey, it was uncomfortable.
I go to the games and I'm still sitting.
Right. It was uncomfortable for him because he still had to stand up, put his hand on his chest, and the formality that they go through, and then turn around and be like, oh God, I hope they don't look at my parents because they're not standing. And he dealt with that. So, he just kind of continued to pivot around it, although he felt the same way we did. So it's kind of like the same thing. I felt for Colin Kaepernick because I was like, look, man, they're blackballing this kid for doing damn near nothing but standing and taking a knee.
We saw it first day. They going to crucify him. He ain't playing ever again. I saw it the first day.
But that's the same thing they did with Trey. There were many, many teams who needed running backs, especially somebody of his caliber. But because we were fighting them, they just go around and they tell their story and they make sure these other 31 teams don't reach out. Because like I said, I managed his marketing, so I also was close with his agent. And his agent and I would speak several times and go, yo, man, I don't know what's going on here, but no one's calling at this point. And we knew why. But I was like, fuck it. He got to get healthy. And a lot of families aren't in that position. They're not in that position. They're trying to get their, the player back on that field. Like, listen, man, this is what you want to do. And they're being pretty much forced because of their circumstances.
Right.
Where we had the ability to be able to say, hey, Trey, you know what? We got you no matter what.
Do you think if more players would have rode with Cap, that they could have made more of an impact with the NFL?
Absolutely.
Because
but the fear has got them all kind of held back.
Yeah.
But absolutely.
It's it's the same with artistry. Like at some point we just have to realize that we, they mentally condition us to think that we're indispensable, or you don't want to do your part in music, we'll just sign in the next hot artist. And same with athletes, you don't want to do your part, we'll just draft the next person. But imagine if we, the artists, stop making the art. What you gonna do now, labels?
Right.
Like the same way we saw last year with TikTok, how once the black TikTok content creators were feeling underpaid, were feeling like, people were taking their material and seeing way more benefits than they were. So they all stopped dancing and creating these dances for them to copy. And guess what happened when the people didn't have anything to copy? TikTok looked like hell. And I just I couldn't help but just feel like, damn, 70% of these players, of the NFL players, are black. Imagine if all of them took that knee. Like, okay, coaches, GMs, y'all can bitch and moan, but what you gonna do with 70% of your team gone? So we definitely have more power than we know.
70%, right? Now let's tap into the fact that we don't have our next Tony Dorsett, Bo Jackson, Herschel Walker, Deion Sanders. Like before these players can even kind of get to that level, something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Something crazy happened. Like we don't got no more great black hopes of the sport anymore. We don't have the Jim Browns. We don't have our next Jim Brown. Maybe in Kaepernick we do. We got an Ali in Kaepernick because he's going to be known for, not playing but being very vocal about police brutality at a very height in his career. But we don't have no players going through the league, being that next player for our culture. Right. Look at that. Take a good look at that. They timed out in 2 years.
What I do appreciate is the hip hop community, which is you guys. Because I feel like if the hip hop community didn't embrace Colin Kaepernick or any of these other players, no one would know about it because they tried to silence him. But it was the hip hop community that, created this frenzy
And
around
that's real.
Around what he was standing for.
Because everybody kept saying he was in the wrong place and time to start his protest. When is it ever a good place and time?
Right.
When is it ever a protest ever comfortable for anybody? I thought it was perfect timing.
I was gonna say, when all that went down, I stopped watching football, and I'm gonna be honest.
So did
I never started back.
Right.
I still don't watch football.
Well, when I actually,
it was like, fuck it. I don't need this.
Learning that it really ain't about winning games, especially, and they've playing for other reasons, that it's pretty much a rigged sport. Of course, I stopped watching.
My so-called team, the Giants, suck. They ain't won no championship, but yet that's a fucking a money franchise. Like they're one of the, all these New York teams, they win or lose. It's the market that they're in. It's this market. So that makes them valuable. And they ain't won shit. They've been breaking people's hearts for years. And still.
Well,
the Knicks too. Look at the Knicks. Right. Come on. They just trying to do.
And then imagine if the NBA would have piggybacked off the NFL. I think our black athletes kind of missed the moment. It might have hurt you, it might have hurt you in the short end, but if you could have, if they could have just really sat down and really thought of the long end, I think that moment could have changed so many things for them. And it's unfortunate that enough of our brothers were, scared. They're just, let's call it what it is. We're scared to take that.
It's fear of a lot. When you got your whole family riding on you, a lot of them got their whole families riding on us.
Of course. And extended families, of course.
Yeah. So when you're looking at the responsibility of all the people you're taking care of, you go, damn, I can't say certain things. I know that's going to crucify me. That becomes very conscious.
Right.
And then you realize that the NFL is one of the most underpaid athletes
of all the sports.
Correct. Right. And then they don't even get the monies that they're contracted to get. So, what frustrates me to see the fans and what they kind of surmise that are happening with these players. And I'm like, unfortunately, they're never going to get the opportunity, most of them, to even understand what we're saying. They're never going to get the opportunity to know that it's not just their mental health that, is being affected here. It's the families, it's the children. It just is going to go on and on. And the sport is never going to stop. It's not like we're out here going, hey, listen, stop playing football. We're not even saying that.
Nah, do something about the issue.
Right.
Football can continue, but do something about the issue.
So what could be done? I know they tried to. I think they banned spearing and all that type of stuff in Pop Warner quite a while ago. So all that head-on-head contact, I think they've been trying to cut down on that. Yes.
Well, first, at least documented it, and you know what I mean? What they're doing is they're pushing it under the rug. So how could you deal with an issue that you don't know nothing about? You know what I mean? Me personally, I feel like after what happened with Trey, even the Rams started pushing that concussion. There is a protocol. It is a protocol. They actually, the only thing that they've been adhering to is if someone's helmet comes off. If somebody's helmet comes off, they can't run the next play or series or whatever the case may be. They can't be involved. But these damages are happening with the helmet. So, they don't have anybody on the side that's like, hey, listen, our best player out there, pay attention to him. because it's early detection. It's like, listen, let's talk to him. Let's see what's going on. I know he seems to be okay, but follow them. Follow them through the week.
Yeah, it's
Follow
beyond.
them
It's
through.
beyond how many fingers I got up.
Right.
Where you are. What's your name? What's your
Right.
date of birth?
Right.
It's beyond that.
Right.
By the time the game is over, nobody's paying attention to the player. And then when they're displaying these different behaviors that aren't unusual, they don't care. They literally just don't care. They're like, oh, they're grown. They can do what they want. This is an aggressive sport anyway. And that's it.
And
Thank
the
you,
fans
Ashley Saracen.
and the fans are blindsided because of the money they know about. He getting paid X amount of dollars.
Right.
Why is he acting like
What are you
that?
complaining about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Not-
this is a shame that they get this much money and they're behaving this way.
Not even knowing that he's not even getting all that money.
But is it about money or is it about the behavioral changes and the mental issues? So what I think they can do is pay attention to those things. There are treatments out there. If they can continue to stay in the league and stay and have their jobs, they can get the health benefits that they need. Trey's health benefits were taken away. So in the midst of his trouble, and this kid, you can look him up. He kept his nose clean since forever. And it's a shame. It's a shame.
Saracen wants to know, hasn't the NFL union said anything about this? Like, don't they have unions and shit? Aren't the unions supposed to do
They got
something?
the NFLPA. What's the other thing?
Players Association?
No, they have the union. And the union will go back and see in the records whether or not these guys had concussions. What could they do if it's not documented? There's not one documentation with Trey. So
wow.
I spoke to the union. So that's how close I got. And I was like, what? Wait a minute. We all could see. You know what I mean? But no, if it's not documented, they can't. They were making sure that they don't document it. If he's walking off and he's going home, then he has no issues.
So the team doctors aren't documenting this, but can he just go to his own primary care physician at home and
they don't know. Like, that's the whole thing. If I knew that something was going on with me, I probably could. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if I knew, but most people with concussions are not the ones that are saying, hey, listen, I think I got a concussion. It's usually someone that's monitoring it going, oh man, you don't look so good. You're not talking straight, or, and it's so subtle. It really is that subtle. If you don't have a huge concussion, it's that subtle. It's a gradual thing, especially if it's CTE.
Gotcha.
It affects the frontal lobe, but it actually doesn't allow you to make good decision at times. But it's on and off, and
you can't force him to go to the doctor. It's like trying to get a mentally ill patient to voluntarily commit themselves. If they're over the age of 18, you can't force it.
Right.
And
that's what we were dealing with, and we're still dealing with it.
Gotcha.
There's so many issues surrounding this thing because it's not, when you approach a player, you really can't see it if you don't spend enough time. They're able to play. There's lots of players out there now who are playing the game. They know the game. They're proficient.
Because it's drilled into them.
Right. The mind is an amazing thing. It will recall and recall and recall. But when it comes to making good decisions, that's like a player going and playing the game, and then Aaron, what's his name? Aaron Hernandez. Yeah, playing the game and then off the field involved in a murder. That's decision making. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? And then a lot of people are like I'm not condoning the behavior. I'm just saying there's something going on. There was something going on with Ray Rice. I just don't understand. I'm like, why wait till a person is displaying this type of behavior and so badly, and then have nothing in the works to help them? Nothing.
Sounds like NFL stands for no fucking love.
Does your son live at home with you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we
Have
were
you been
able-
keeping a journal, a daily journal of just things?
Yeah, like we'll record certain things so that maybe he can see, but he's
Okay.
not subscribing to any of it. Like, he is avoiding every bit of it. Even us reaching out and talking today, we just
He's
keep,
like, why y'all doing that? Y'all bugging
yeah,
out. Ain't nothing wrong with
you
me.
tripping. You tripping.
Yeah, y'all wilding.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, we're just going to keep fighting and keep fighting, not just for ourselves, but for other people. It's time for us to speak out, and time for us to speak out in reference to the organization, because it's more so about the organization than it is Trey's mental health, because the organization relieved themselves from his health benefits to be able to even get the help if the help was there. Like, if he had a subscribed, or if there was some help along the line, they could help him subscribe. And that's what I want to see also. You ask, well, what do you think they can do? Help them subscribe. You can help them subscribe to play your game. Help them subscribe to their own mental health.
Right.
Yo, bro, you can't get on this field unless we see that you get some help. Just don't let them go off to their respected homes and not check on them. Trey lived in St. Louis, about 10 minutes from the facility. If he doesn't show, this is another thing I have to say. No one even realizes that they get docked if they don't show up, and, loads of money. They don't show up to training. They don't show up to a meeting. And this is something that I discovered when helping him gather his things from St. Louis when they were going to LA. I saw the league was literally taking thousands of dollars for not showing up to treatment or a meeting or whatever the case may be. That weighs heavy on someone's mind. Like, what the hell is happening? And you can't get a hold of this money that they're taking from you. Like, the fans don't know that. That's a mind fuck. At the end of the day, like, wait a minute, I was at training. I'm having difficulties. No one comes and says, hey, listen, are you okay? We notice, like, who works this hard to get to this level and then fucks it all away? Who does that?
Maybe this is you guys calling, start a foundation, a CTE research foundation, and
Absolutely.
We talked
Yeah,
about
we
that.
definitely talked about that.
Spearhead that, and you'd be surprised. You build it, people will come. That you'll probably have, a lot of families. So even those that don't have a voice or advocates, and you never know, you guys could really be on the verge of something great, and definitely needed.
Well, I think they fucked up because, they did this. This is Trey Mason is a son of hip hop. You see, and this is what we do in hip hop. We shine light on shit.
That's right.
We make people aware of certain things that they might not have been aware of before. So now, if you was trying to hide this shit, you done fucked up now, because
whatever narrative y'all was trying to push, guess what? He got a bigger platform.
He's shining the bat signal on this shit now.
And I appreciate you guys.
I definitely appreciate
every bit of using your platform.
This was definitely God sent right here.
And I was just gonna say, what can not just us, but what can the people do? The people, we got like 364 people right now just watching in the chat. How many, what can the people do to help? Is there anything that they can do to get awareness out there, or I don't know, petition the NFL? I don't know, like what we got to do?
I mean, at this point, man, just keep spreading the word. We can have our post up, or we just say at this point, maybe keep sharing it. If there's any information that anyone can divulge to help with this issue, not only with us, but with other players and their families, please, we're open to any information that may help, because we definitely on our crusade for this, not only for our son, but these other families who really can't speak for themselves as well, or afraid to speak for themselves,
And not only that, but some of these players end up in jail. where they don't belong.
A lot
Right.
of
You
them.
know, and if
Yeah.
it wasn't for us being able to be as strong as we were to even get Trey out of the little bit of trouble that he got pulled over for speeding, but that was a judgment call. Do you understand what I'm saying? And he'll end up in jail with those who may have done some things that landed them there, you know, but he was tased 3 times. It's all out there.
Whoa.
He was tased 3 times. You know, me and his father hadn't seen him in 24 hours because one of his friends called and was like, "Hey, listen, you know," because his friend is a police officer. So he was like, "Look, Miss Mason, I don't know what's going on. I Trey called me and he was like, "Hey, I'm being pulled over, you know, and I don't know what to do." And he was like, "Trey, just get out." And Trey is not one of those guys who just don't listen or
He's not
cooperate.
boisterous. He's not flamboyant. None of that.
None
Like,
of it, you know.
He's not uncooperative. You know.
And this
not
was
that,
at the
man.
very time that we knew he was going through something. We couldn't get a hold of him, couldn't find him, and they tased him like 3 times and then threw him in the hospital. It wasn't until the next day that we even knew where he was. So you talk about a player being dealt with. They knew who he was, you know, but you talk about a black player and then maybe a white player and how these things play out with what we talked about with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee because of these things. I don't think they had to tase him 3 times. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't know what their agenda was, but it was scary for us. And just like other families who have this issue with their family members, they can't protect them. You know, either they'll leave, you can't find them, you know, for days and days, or they're in trouble somewhere. And they either end up dead or they end up in jail.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry you guys are going through that.
Thank you.
Any help we could lend, you know, we're here for you.
I mean, we'll definitely keep
appreciate
y'all
you.
up to speed for what
Please
we're doing.
do.
You know?
Please do.
You know, I've been throwing some ideas around. Definitely probably put a project together and donate the money to the research. You know, been thinking of a couple of different things, you know, but this is definitely a mission of ours for sure. And it was, you know, I think the timing is right now because we done experienced so much for the last 6 years. And I think where we all at now with this pandemic, people are actually sitting down, paying attention and willing to listen, you know, especially when you got the Godcast going on and other podcasts out there that's really touching on subjects like mental illness, police brutality,
Exactly.
racism, vaccine, and that bullshit, and all kinds of other shit. You know what I'm saying? So, you know,
Yes, sir.
Especially mental health in the black community, you know.
Yeah.
I think even we ourselves as a people, you know, for a long time kind of looked at it in a negative light, like, what? I don't need no psychiatrist, I don't need no therapist, I ain't crazy. You know, we just automatically associate it with being crazy, and it's like, no, we have plenty of reasons that we need therapy for. I've been going down this wormhole just watching documentaries of like all the killings of the kids in Chicago and
Man,
stuff.
you
It's
made
like,
me, when you said that to me, you sent me down that damn wormhole. I looked at that shit with King Vaughn and shit. I'm like, whoa.
you mean to
like,
tell me that
this
these
little nigga killed, like, what?
yo, these babies need help. They need therapy. You cannot
And like,
tell
you a
me
star rapper. Like, now these star rappers, like, this dude killed like 7 people.
you
Like,
can't tell me
I
that
was an up and coming rapper.
these people do not have PTSD. Like, you're literally watching your friend get his brains
Yes.
blown out in front of your face on a weekly basis, and you got to go to the studio after that, like, and everything's normal. It's like, and aside,
And then you got other guys across town making fun of your guy that just got killed.
take
on record, trying to get you upset and oh,
take smoking on such and such pack. I mean, look,
smoking on Tuka.
Look, entertainment removed. How about just regular life in the hood?
Right.
Like, want to see a dead body? Like, these are little kids that are really like having to like experience this trauma on a daily basis. Like if anybody needs therapy, it's us. We've got PTSD in our DNA. Like we've inherited it from our ancestors. So
And now combine that with getting hit in the head with a football helmet, repeatedly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or any other rough type of sport, a boxing glove or some shit like that. Because them boxers be getting this shit too.
Oh yeah, CTE in boxing is definitely
come on. That was one of the things that made me not want to be a boxer. Them dudes was talking all punchy. Hey, how you doing there? You know, everybody want to grow up to be, you know.
My thing is too that I think that they need to implement protection for these players, that they're not allowed to let them go in the midst of trouble. You know what I mean? Like they're not allowed to fire them,
right,
and take their health insurance away. Like how in the world is that even possible?
That's scumbaggery.
So it definitely start there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then we can talk about all the research, because that research, regardless of what they do, is not going to help Trey if he can't get the help.
Right.
Well, we got to shame the devil.
Yep.
That's what y'all doing right now. Letting these motherfuckers know this shit is shameful.
Tell the truth and shame the devil.
That's right. This is shameful what you're doing to another human being, to drop somebody in the middle of a crisis that y'all help to perpetuate. Nah, no, sir. We're not going to stand by that. And you're going to look like a piece of shit, you know, to the people. Like, and if you're comfortable with that, then cool. But I don't think you are comfortable with it. That's why you've been hiding this shit. You see what I'm saying? So now we're going to shine a light on it. And hopefully, you know, maybe that embarrassment might motivate somebody to move. Maybe.
And also too, like, you know, unfortunately, it's status quo that gets listened to, because I did mention this when it was first happening, but it wasn't until, you know, Maseo decided to host, and everybody was like, "Oh, Maceo's son," and I'm like, "This is 7 years worth of problem." You know what I mean? And you know, if you look back,
but all he had to see, that's the power of hip hop.
Yeah,
he had to do his Maceo. He's a son of hip hop. That's what I'm telling you.
That's right.
That's Maceo's son. Whoa, wait a minute.
Right.
That's different here. That's not just any regular NFL. That's a hip hop.
That's a hip hop baby
child. Like that's something, you know, that's gonna automatically.
That's why I thank you guys so much. You know, like if it wasn't for hip hop, I don't know how many things would get awareness to. You know what I mean? Like I just don't know.
And I'm I was very proud of my son and what he achieved. Here it is.
And we're still proud of him.
He wasn't trying to make music. He wanted to play ball, you know. And
picked his own path and was successful at it.
And I wasn't the parent vicariously trying to live through my son because I didn't go to the NFL. That ain't even my thing. When they was trying to get me to play ball in school, I'm like, I'm doing this music thing over here. I had a record deal.
But you're nice guys. You could play football.
He was, football. We were in high school and he was running up and down the field. He didn't know why.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Hey, Maseo, was there a part
DNA ready for your son? That's what you was doing.
Was there a part of you like, phew, thank God this nigga don't want to rap?
Nah, honestly, because if he wanted, I got one that does rap. I got two that rap. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, like, you know, I embrace their dreams, man. You know, and especially with my sons that rap, I'm surprised because they dope. I'm really like, and I'm really on them about that. You know what I mean? Like, you coming in this territory, we got a lot to live up to here.
Right.
You know what I mean? That sports thing is y'all territory. You know what I'm saying? But over here, we got a lot to live up to. But I'm actually proud of their development.
Keep them safe away from these new rappers with their fucking narcotics and all this fucking.
These new rappers are killers.
Damn it!
The new rappers are killers. I'm scared of them.
Fentanyl and all kind of crazy shit going on out here.
Yeah, they got one leg in, one leg out. Nobody's trying to go legit.
Well, listen, we're gonna have to bring you back another time where we just strictly talk hip hop shit. You
Yeah,
know,
we come back. You know,
tonight was all about shining the light on what needed to be shined. You dig?
I really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank you
that.
so
I mean,
much.
the next time I come back, honestly, the first time I was intending to do this was really having the whole crew so we could talk about the catalog and all
Oh,
that
come
shit.
on, let's go.
You know what I
Let's.
mean?
I mean,
Because
please.
I think it's just better having all three of us as opposed to just one of us talking about the history and the catalog and all that. You know, come on.
Listen,
We
I'd
all
be
we
happy
all
with
grew
what
up
I can
together.
get. If you're
We
telling
all grew
me
up together,
you
so
can
I don't
get
want to just
all
give
of
you one third.
if you can get the full De La Soul on the Godcast, come on, bro.
Oh wow.
You're like, that's crazy. Like
I
that's
could definitely
crazy.
do that. I could definitely do that because I know how they feel about y'all.
Say
That's
no
real.
more. Say no more. Let's go because we
That's
got a
real.
lot of stories and reminiscing and oh my goodness, let's go.
And Digger, you're one of my favorite MCs. Don't get it
Oh,
twisted.
thank you.
For real, for the longest.
Digga, first name Rashia.
I mean,
That's my drop.
one of my favorite MCs, for real.
Thank
for real.
you.
You are amazing, Queen. Thank you.
And thank you for being one of the stars in the video, straight up.
Oh yes.
Right?
That was,
Wait,
that was
which video was this? Was that the Ooh video?
The
this
Ooh
is the
video.
Ooh video. I was
Ooh
Dorothy.
Ooh.
Red Man was the Wiz, and I was Dorothy.
Ah.
Yep. And what's her name? Stacey McKenzie was the witch.
Which, yeah.
I ain't gonna tell you. Buster caught feelings because you know that video was going on the same day as I forgot what video he was shooting. I want to say, give me some more. It was one of his videos was getting shot the same day, and I'm like, I'm
starring in this one over
I'm
here.
going to do this.
You just
I'm
want me
sorry.
to
I
do
don't.
your shit.
I'm
Like,
sorry, Bus. I don't want to be an extra in your video.
Yeah, no, I want to be the star over here in De La Soul's
Yes.
video.
Hey,
So,
pretty
hey,
much.
you gonna make me
He
believe.
had to let that ride. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
And I'm sure you got a little check or something, huh? Yeah.
Back
Something
then,
out the
you know
budget?
we was milking
Come
the
on.
labels back
This
then.
was
You know, one
beautiful,
hand was
like-
washing the other back in them days.
And both hands wash the face. See, that was like a beautiful time when, like,
But I would have did it for free.
now we bringing other rappers into
to
our
be
videos
honest, though,
and paying them. And man,
based on what this business had became, like, yo, us as Dayline, we always took pride in making sure people got paid because this is what we came here to do professionally. You know what I'm saying? And your time was worth the money. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Your time, your performance, all of that was worth the money. You know,
And
you
it was
are who
fun.
You are who you are, legend.
Yeah,
You
that
feel
video
me?
was lit. And wait a minute, time out. Y'all really had me trying to do an improv standoff with Dave Chappelle, with the man who would become Dave Chappelle.
Word is
He just
bond.
ragging me at the club entrance door. I'm like, I have no witty clapbacks for this man. And I mean, you know, I didn't know he would be who he is today, but I'm like, wait a minute, this guy is clowning the fuck out of me. I have no clapback for him. There's no script. I
what
can't.
was he hitting you with the skinny jokes? What was he doing?
What? Well, basically,
You're
I
so
was like,
thin, you're almost disappearing. What is
yeah,
this?
I was like the lady trying to get in the club, and I couldn't get in the club, and I ended up bumping my head or something. But yeah, he was the bouncer at the door, and he was just dragging me for filth, and I'm like,
he played his.
I don't know what to say.
Wait, before I let you go, Mace, Pooh Bah told me to tell you peace was good.
Peace, word.
Also, Killer Priest said
Yes.
peace was good.
Yeah.
He said his brother used to be in a group with y'all and he used to dance for y'all or some shit like that.
Yo, Uptown. Remember the rapper Uptown? Dope on Plastic. He was on Tommy Boy.
I'm not sure.
Well, he's my family. He was on Tommy Boy, and
Okay.
we helped him get a deal at Tommy Boy. And he put out a single called "Dope on Plastic" and "It's My Turn," that was produced by Bobby Simmons from Stet and Dante Ross.
Wow.
You know?
Okay.
And Killer Priest and his cousin used to dance for him. They used to dance for me, and I can't front. They was nice too.
Word.
It was like
That's great.
IOU level. Remember the IOU crew?
Yeah.
They was IOU level, straight up. They was nice.
Wow, that's what's
Yeah.
up. Yo, Priest just told me that earlier today and shit. That's funny.
I owe Priest a beat. I know exactly what beat he went to.
Yeah, Priest got some shit. He got some shit out right now. Go check his new shit out. That shit hard. Some shit. 3 Fantastic Supermen. That's the name of the shit. Hard.
Yeah, I got it.
Hard.
Okay.
Yeah, yo, the OGs are killing it right now. I know you. I ain't gonna put you on the spot, Jamar. You listened already, yes?
No.
No.
Yeah, don't
Okay,
do
never
it.
mind.
Don't do it.
Okay, never mind. Never mind.
We'll talk later.
Never mind.
I appreciate y'all coming through.
I thank y'all for having us. We appreciate y'all.
We
for
appreciate
real.
y'all.
We need
Where can people get in contact with you and all of that type of shit?
I'm DJ Maseo on Instagram. Get me on Facebook. Twitch. I'm on Twitch, as DJ Maseo. My wife, you can reach her at Mason Millionaires Inc. And yeah, that's where we are.
Make some millionaires.
Mason Millionaires Inc.
Okay.
on Instagram. And anytime y'all want to get together and do something, y'all see I'm set up. Let's ride.
Let's go.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm rapping this year. Well, I never stopped rapping, but I'm gonna put some shit out this year.
All right.
Oh, now see, that's me.
That's important.
I'm loving that.
I'm going. I'm inspired.
Good. Good.
That's dope.
I'll send some beats your way.
Let's go.
All right.
Well, yo.
Who you working with these days?
I've got a guy based in Charlotte who's kind of near and dear to my heart. He's been killing it. I'm finding Knots, Knots is always gonna be like a go-to of mine.
Yeah, he the guy. He the guy for sure.
Knots is like, yeah, we like Missy and Timberland with that shit. But I got folks just literally like sliding in my bookings, like, yo, you like this? And I will take the time to listen to all of them, and I'm finding stuff like, yo, this kid is nice. So,
I know Jamar already produces. He produces. So
I ain't sent her nothing new yet.
Yeah,
I just
he ain't really been sending me nothing.
I'm gonna send you some shit. I just got this NPC X, and I've been going kind of crazy with it. So I got something for you. Don't worry.
Well, I'm highly considering putting this project together and donating proceeds to mental illness. So
Let's go. We with you. We got you.
Word.
Thank you.
I love y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs. Mason. Maseo de la Soul. Thank you, brother.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Queen.
I love y'all, man. I appreciate y'all.
Word. Peace.
Hey.
All right.
What up, though?
Yeah. That was
that's really unfortunate. It's a shame that, something that you love so much could be so detrimental to you.
That your dream could become a nightmare, basically. Like, it's like, wow.
I guess that's pretty much life, huh?
Sometimes,
And not for nothing, there are a lot of cases of NFL players with with these, especially these rough contact sports with the history of domestic violence, with that impulse control. I wouldn't be surprised if, it's unfortunate that you got to wait for them to pass away, but I wouldn't be surprised if more than more than most of them become documented with this. But
I'm saying that
I think they could figure it out before they pass away. Though. That's my personal.
Of course they can. I'm thinking that a lot more people that don't even get to the NFL who have played football in elementary, junior high school, and high school. These motherfuckers have it too, but they're not being, you're not thinking about them because these guys went all the way to the NFL.
Right.
We're not thinking about the guys that ended up having behavioral problems and went to jail and all kind of shit, or ended up,
I was gonna say it'll
being,
get when it comes to our babies, they'll get criminalized.
We think it's just puberty sometimes, maybe like oh, he just got real violent in high school and shit like that. When if we think about, well, hey, did he play football? Did he, was he? It could have been some shit like that, because I'm telling you, they had us going head to head. Like I
definitely believe
if you didn't do that, you was a sucker. You was a, you know what I mean?
Something there.
So
but we also we're not gonna make, we're not gonna make an excuse, to the people that are out here, just
no. I'm just saying it's these are factors that we have to sometimes consider.
Of course.
But it's
like
not
I really want to know
playing football.
I really want to know I mean, I'm not wishing for him to die, but I really want to know if OJ
right, has something. I mean,
if there's anything there. I mean, it may not seem like it because for the most part, it's like they are still normal. What happens is it's the impulse. It's the, like if a motherfucker cut you off in line, you looking at him like, I might have to. I'm gonna smoke this.
Right,
nigga.
I should
like you might, like you might really want to kill a motherfucker just for
motherfucker. Well, if it happens, it's like
traffic.
no, they're getting the shit slapped out of them.
But there's that thing that stops you, that makes you consider all things like, wait, I'm not trying to go to jail. I'm really not trying to shoot nobody over road rage. Like there's thing that stops you. And from what I understand about CTE, that thing that stops them, that stops you,
not there.
is not there. Like that's the first thing to go. Like that's the first sign of it.
Took
so
the governor off.
When we hear these wild stories, it's like, I'm just like, okay, in the case, bringing it back to OJ, like you walking in on a man smashing your wife, like that thing that told you like, I need to walk away or I need to, I mean, I don't know, but we're not excusing fuck shit either, just for the record.
No.
Just for the record, Rock Digger is not saying that what OJ did was okay, that he had CTE.
But he could have, and it could have contributed to it, is what you're saying.
Right.
And you're right. And you're just curious if that had anything to do with it. I'm just
curious to know if we're going to see that.
Here's the thing. After he dies, they examine his brain. Nigga like me, I don't even trust these motherfuckers' interpretation. So I don't even know what to. If I look at that brain and they show me some shit, I don't even really know what that means. I have to now trust what they're telling me that fucking scan means and all of that. So that's a whole next thing.
Well, the beautiful thing is it was a black doctor,
and I don't trust the devil science.
It was a black doctor that discovered.
Yeah, but you were using the devil science a lot of times. So black doctor or not, but. It's all good. Well, listen, I gotta get ready to wrap this up because shit.
There's real quick, I just want to address something. This someone actually put this in the comment this week as well as last week. We're not gonna blow these people up, mention them by name, but there's a particular podcast that
I just saw that. Yeah,
that's seemingly devoting themselves to
disrespecting the black woman,
disrespecting black women. We're not going to name them because
I don't watch the shit. I don't even know about it.
Yeah, and I feel like the reason why people are even knowing about them now is because of it. So we're not going to give them no shine, but I just want you to know that we saw your comment. We are aware of what those jackasses are doing. And guess what? They had another show that went viral because a female guest,
shit, right?
A female guest rumoredly pulled a gun out on one of the hosts. So That was the second incident. So I think they getting learned right now, and we're not even gonna get them no shine over here. Fuck them, die slow, and yeah, hope that podcast never gets to see the light of day.
I was looking for the wah, 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 wah. Oh, I might not have that no more. I had to make space.
They said OJ ain't do that shit. That's right, y'all. He ain't do that shit. We said he ain't do that shit.
Well, listen, we thank y'all for coming through. We appreciate y'all. Everybody that gave on this super chat, thank you.
Word.
Once again, our guests, Maseo and his wife Tina Mason, talking about their son Trey. You know, our love and you know, positive energy go out to them, and we appreciate them for coming by. So once again, another one in the can.
Another one in the can.
My name is Lord Jamar.
I go by the name of Digga, birth name Rashia.
That's right. And this is the motherfucking Godcast. Hey!